One of the most consistently contentious things about Google's Pixel smartphones is their focus and increasing reliance upon AI features. Not so much in the beginning with things like Magic Eraser, but as things have progressed, things like Magic Editor, future features like the zoom enhancement that uses AI to, at least in the demos, do some incredibly impressive stuff. The way that they're integrating Bard into their Google Assistant, which will be a thing we're going to see much more and more. These are features that get people very much up in arms. You're either excited about these things, you see the potential for the use of them, or you just straight up don't like AI. You feel like they're focusing too much on AI. And in fact, every time the word AI or the phrase, whatever the acronym AI gets said, your ears shut off and you just say, I'm tired of hearing about this stuff. If you are in that second camp, the people that are just sick of hearing about AI, I've got bad news for you. Because if you were hoping that AI was something that only Google was going to be pushing towards as a phone manufacturer, Sam Mobile has a new headline that I think is going to disappoint you. This new article, and I will link to this in the description down below, Sam Mobile is reporting that the S24 line will have a heavy emphasis on artificial intelligence features. We've seen a few leaks about these upcoming S24 devices, namely the fact that they're all going to have, apparently, incredibly bright screens. But we've also seen some confusing things. Potential quote-unquote downgrades. Maybe you could view it as a downgrade of the zoom capabilities of the S24 Ultra, leaving a lot of people to wonder what is going to be sort of the selling feature of this device. And maybe, just maybe, if this reporting is accurate, they're going to kind of lean on that AI stuff to kind of try and bring some newness to these phones. Well, what are we talking about? They talk about in this article something that they say is, quote, lifted from ChatGPT and Bard for their next phones. And they kind of describe text generation. This is something that we can do with the SwiftKey keyboard. Obviously, Bard does this stuff really, really well, as does ChatGPT. You tell it a little bit of a prompt, and it gives you an output. It gives you text, tells you basically a set of things that you need to know. Or basically like phrases things for you, gives you information. I'll give you a really good example of how I've been using Bard in these videos. I actually just posted this video talking about this new Xiaomi phone potentially coming to global markets. And for this video, I showed off this table. I went to Bard and I asked it, can you give me a table showing off the specs of the Xiaomi Mix Fold 3? This is what it outputted. I didn't have to format this. This is exactly what it spit out. The only thing I had to do is I then said, add the weight, which it did, and then it left off the 10 megapixel 5x optical. So then I typed in, it also has a 10 megapixel 5x optical, and it said, okay, and it put that in there as well. Not perfect right from the word go, but considering what I got with about 30 seconds of effort, that is pretty doggone cool. And if we're talking about building that kind of capability into the upcoming Galaxy phones, this could be potentially very, very interesting. But it's not going to just be text generation. They also talk about how Samsung is apparently creating their own image generation as well. So you'll be able to type in some stuff and get an image put out. One possible use of this is something like what Google's doing with their Pixel 8 devices. How about generating wallpapers based on a small text prompt? Maybe it's something like this. This is something that I've played around with on Bing's chat service quite a bit as well. And, you know, there's varying degrees of success. You've probably seen in a lot of my thumbnails, they'll have backgrounds that are, you know, varying different things. Sometimes it's big screens and just different things like that. A lot of these were generated with Bing's Chat AI, and I've done this so that I'm not using someone else's art for my thumbnail and therefore profiting from it. It's a free thing that I'm able to do. You can talk in the comments about the ethics, you could say, of doing that. How will that affect artists going forward? That's definitely a conversation worth having. But again, text generation, image generation potentially built into these Galaxy phones. Now, how will these features truly be integrated into these phones? We don't have any information on that just yet. To what degree will it be there? Is this a thing like on Surface Duo where it's just sort of like a link to the Bing chat? It's in the keyboard and not much else, or it's in Google Messages as it is for Google, but not much else. All of this stuff does remain to be seen. They also talk about Bixby. Most of us aren't using Bixby anymore. Most of us never used it in the first place. And if you think Bixby's going away, they're reporting a doubling down on Bixby, kind of maybe even potentially rebranding Bixby as their AI-driven assistant. They need a face, a name for their AI stuff. You've got Bing Chat, you've got Bard. Well, maybe Bixby is what Samsung is going to go with going forward. Now, of course, Samsung is not known for their software, their AI prowess, quite like Google is. So you may look at this and think, well, is this stuff going to be any good? That remains to be seen as well. But I can tell you that on the hardware side, they're probably going to have a pretty big advantage. Google has said over and over that their Tensor chips allow them to do AI tasks better and better. But in practice, you put Magic Eraser through the Google Photos app onto your S24 Ultra, and it tends to run that faster than the Pixel 8 Pro does. So I think that the fact that these Galaxy phones will be running Snapdragon processors or even Exynos chips that are actually faster, theoretically, than the Tensor chips should be somewhat of an advantage, actually, for Samsung's phones in doing this stuff. And you also have to keep in mind that a lot of this stuff is offloaded and done in the cloud. So they'll be able to do it. The question is going to be, how good is it going to be? Will it be on the level of Bing Chat, which uses Chat GPT type stuff? Will it be on the level of Bard, which is, I believe, Google's own sort of thing? All of that remains to be seen. But again, the bottom line of this is, if you are hoping that AI is a passing fad in smartphones, that's not going to be the case. We're only going to go deeper and deeper into this as time rolls on. I'm kind of the mindset that it's almost pointless to get mad about this stuff. You just need to kind of figure out how you're going to exist in this world, because this is where we are going. AI is going to be everywhere. It's going to change almost every single thing that you deal with on a daily basis, and it just is what it is, guys. So what do you think about the possibility of an S24 device with heavy emphasis on AI processes? Again, this may just be sort of a tangential set of features that they don't talk about a whole lot. It could be a big focus. It's too early to know this stuff yet. All we can say right now is that Sam Mobile is predicting that at least there will be some emphasis on this AI stuff, some new features. Let me know in the comments down below, guys. I'll see you on the next one. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.